Afternoon, everyone. Today is October 22nd, 2024. It's 3 p.m. This is a City of Prescott City Council voting meeting. Mayor Pro Tem, do we have any announcements or recognitions?
Yes, we do. Let's see. Congratulations to our airport director, Rick Kreider. Recently, the National Air Transportation Association has honored Rick with the NATA Airport Executive Partnership Award. According to the organization, the award recognizes an airport manager for his or her outstanding efforts to foster relationships between aviation businesses and airport directors. Recipients of the award must illustrate leadership in the partnership between airport operators and airport tenants, developing a positive relationship between the airport and its businesses. The honor will be presented as part of the NATA Industry Excellence Awards presentation and luncheon to be held in conjunction with the association's Aviation Business Conference in Nashville, Tennessee, on November 13. Congratulations, Rick. I don't know if you're in the audience. Okay. Number 2, is he here? The City of Prescott is currently seeking applications for the following boards, committees, and commissions. The first is the Building, Safety, Advisory, and Appeals Board, with a term ending in March 2027. There are 2 vacancies. You must be a Prescott resident to serve on this board. The second is the Community Development Block Grant, also called the CDBG, Citizens Advisory Committee. The term goes through March of 2026. There is 1 vacancy, and you do not need to be a Prescott resident to serve on this board. Applications are due to the city by 5 p.m. on Friday, October 25th. For more information, visit the city's website at City of Prescott Boards and Commissions Vacancies or contact the city clerk's office at 928-777-1437. The City of Prescott is seeking public comment on the draft 2025 general plan document. The required public comment period lasts 60 days beginning September 23rd and ending November 21st. The next and final general plan open house will take place on Thursday, October 24th, 2024, between 3 and 6 p.m. at the Prescott Library Founders Room at 215 East Goodwin Street. A virtual meeting room has been created for the public to review the entire draft plan and to provide comments. Go to planprescott.com. Citizens can also ask questions by emailing hello@planprescott.com. And that's it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We'll now have an invocation by Paul Clemens from the Calvary Chapel of Prescott, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Councilman Moore.
Well, good afternoon, council members and attendees. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to come together. Lord, we thank you for this city that we live in, just this wonderful city, this community that we can appreciate. Lord, we thank you for those that are in charge of the different departments throughout the city. Lord, we thank you for the city leadership and ask that you would just provide them with wisdom as the different situations, the different decisions need to be made that affect the entire community, Lord. We thank you and just ask your blessing upon this time. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
Thank you. We'll now have a roll call, please.
Mayor Good.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantelmi.
Here.
Councilwoman Fruworth.
Here.
Councilman Gambogi.
I'm present.
Councilman Montoya.
I'm still here.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
And Councilmember Rusing.
Here.
All are present.
Very good. Now we have 3 proclamations, the first of which will be the Friends of the Prescott Library, presented by Councilman Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. We'd like to invite all of those who are affiliated with Friends of the Library to come on up as we read this proclamation. You can kind of make a circle here. Thank you. This is the proclamation, National Friends of Libraries Week, October 20th through the 26th, 2024. Whereas Friends of the Prescott Public Library raise money that enable our library to move from good to great, providing the resources for additional programming, much needed equipment, support for children's summer reading, and special events throughout the year. And whereas the work of the Friends highlights on an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. And whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources needed to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials and expert assistance in research, readers advisory, and children's services. And whereas the Friends' gift of their time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Now, therefore, Phil Good, Mayor of the City of Prescott, does hereby proclaim October 20th through 26th, 2024 as National Friends of Libraries Week. We encourage everyone to support the Friends of the Library and express our gratitude for their efforts in enhancing both our library and community. Congratulations.
I'm Bill Arnold, president of the Friends, and I just wanted to say a couple of words real quickly to the mayor, council, all of people in the audience. The Friends, this is the board, part of it, but really every one of you that have a library pass, you are a friend. We have 1,000 people who come to the library every day. They are our friends as well. We promote the library through fundraising, through advocacy, and volunteerism. If you want to know more about what the Friends do, there's a booklet right in front of me that you can pick up at the library, the gratitude report, that talks about the things that the Friends do for the city and for the library. Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Yeah, we're getting a picture. And over here, to your left. To your left.
Everybody, smile.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We now have a proclamation for Patient Blood Management Awareness Week, which will be presented by Councilmember Rusing.
Hello, Dr. Torres. I think I was picked for this because I'm a retired RN. Whereas the City of Prescott is pleased to join Dignity Health Yavapai Regional Medical Center, located in our city, as it celebrates Patient Blood Management Awareness Week, November 4th through 8th, 2024. Whereas Dignity Health YRMC is staffed by professionals with a commitment to improving patient outcomes through optimal blood management, and whereas patient blood management is the appropriate provision and use of blood, its components and derivatives, and strategies to reduce or avoid the need for a blood transfusion. And whereas Patient Blood Management Awareness Week speaks to the concerns of every person to have the best health care available to them, respecting individual preferences and beliefs, and continuing education of healthcare professionals to provide that care. Whereas Dignity Health, YRMC, is staffed by professionals with a commitment to improving patient outcomes and educating the medical community about best practices in blood management. And whereas we commend the members of Dignity Health Yavapai Regional Medical Center for extending themselves in service to others according to their commitment to improving patient outcomes. Now, therefore, Phil Good, Mayor of the City of Prescott, does hereby proclaim the week of November 4th through the 8th, 2024 as Patient Blood Management Awareness Week. And we'll have a few words from Dr. Torres.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Mayor, and the rest of the council members. It's my pleasure, really, to accept this proclamation. We are so grateful at Dignity Health YRMC for our patient blood management program to optimize the utilization of blood and blood products to improve the outcomes from our surgical procedures for all our patients and our communities. So thank you very much.
Okay, our last proclamation is Homelessness Awareness Month, which will be presented by Councilman Montoya.
Do I have representatives? It looks like I see you guys in your red shirts. Come on up. Okay, it's my pleasure to present this proclamation for Homeless Awareness Month for November 2024. Whereas Prescott, Arizona joins the nation in recognizing November as Homeless Awareness Month, and whereas last year the Prescott area identified over 150 homeless students, Agape House of Prescott works to reduce the number of homeless families by walking alongside families as they rebuild and turn their lives around. And whereas since its incorporation in 2013, Agape House has had an 86% success rate of families living independently 1 year after graduation from Agape House. Now, therefore, Phil Good, Mayor of the City of Prescott, does hereby proclaim the month of November 2024 as Homeless Awareness Month. The City of Prescott encourages the residents of Prescott to give back and become involved in Agape House of Prescott in their vision to provide a pathway to independence for families in crisis.
Thank you. I'm Mike Kimmel. I'm the Executive Director at Agape House, and Mayor and Council and all of you, thank you for having us today. We work with a bunch of partners. We're not the only group in town that helps that community. So CCJ and Prescott Area Shelter Service and Yavapai Gospel Rescue Mission, Salvation Army, others, Stepping Stones, others within the community do a whole lot here to help work on that issue. We don't want this to turn into the zone in Phoenix or San Francisco or other cities where it's a mess. But work with the town, with the CDBG, with Michael, wherever he's hiding back there, with him and United Way and Arizona Charitable Foundation and others, we are working on it. We are reducing it. We are having families go from crisis and singles go from crisis into stability. So they're actually on the other side. They're on the side that gets the honor of paying taxes as opposed to just taking money from there. But it's an honor to be on your own feet. So thank you again for having us here. I got a great staff and team, and we're very appreciative. Thank you.
Very good. We'll now move on to the open call to the public.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Prescott welcomes public engagement. Residents may comment and address the council regarding matters that are not included on the posted agenda during the call to the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a green speaker card and submit it to me prior to the meeting being convened. As a reminder, speakers are limited to 4 minutes, and the call to the public will be limited to 40 minutes in total, with the following stipulations. Citizens will be limited to addressing the council on the same topic only 4 times in total. If a topic has been addressed more than 5 times by different speakers, the mayor may limit future discussion on the topic, and topics of a primarily national concern may be limited at the discretion of the mayor. I do have 2 cards today, and our first one is from Sue Manuel.
Okay, can you hear me okay? My name is Sue Manuel. I live at 508 Fairgrounds Avenue. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak this afternoon.
Sue, sorry, can you move it just a little bit closer to you?
Yeah, we
Okay,
have
better?
people watching online and got to make sure they can hear you.
And
Okay.
up a little.
Up a little bit? Okay. Better, Ted? Okay. Respectfully, I am once again compelled to speak at the call to public to bring your attention to another, perhaps the most egregious situation yet at our beloved city property, known to longtime residents as the Fairgrounds. I do not believe that this city council has had any previous knowledge of what has very recently transpired. I feel that you will want to take action as you're all stewards of this city property, and I'm sure that you all take your fiduciary responsibilities very seriously. The president of Prescott Frontier Days has moved her private for-profit business, Not Our First Rodeo, LLC, to 840 Rodeo Drive. She and others are posting on Facebook, Nextdoor, and as of this morning, the Prescott Courier. The announcement of the store opening, including hours of business, the directions to their traditional storefront behind the bleachers at a city-owned fairgrounds property. This occupancy is a gift of the city assets to a private for-profit LLC. Not Our First Rodeo's business operation on the city property is in direct violation with PFD's existing lease. This brings up a few questions, starting with these few. What is the occupancy agreement between PFD and Not Our First Rodeo? I happen to know that this business was operating out of storefront on Cortez, where they were paying fair market price for rent. Who in the city approved this occupancy? Is the rent being paid? If so, to whom? PFD leases the property from the city, and I have to remind you, for $1 a year or less. Any allocation of that property to a third party is a sublease, which is in direct violation to the existing lease. In addition, the secretary and other staff employees of PFD are also living on the property, an arrangement that was approved by a city staff member, not the city council, is in clear violation of PFD's lease and the current zoning of the property. These two blatant violations of the sublease clause demand further investigation by the council as to the conduct of PFD and any staff in arranging for these quote-unquote subleases, and may provide grounds for termination and the subsequent renegotiation of PFD's lease with the city with complete transparency, in which in my mind means that the negotiations should be held in the public. Isn't it time to end this grift perpetuated by PFD once and for all?
Sarah Michelle Taylor.
Hello, my name is Sarah Michelle Taylor, and I'm with the Gail Gardner
Yeah,
neighborhood.
can you take the microphone and, turn it down a little bit so we can hear you better? Thank you.
Okay, is that better? All right. In the Courier dated October 17th of this year, it was reported that the city was awarded $50,000 in a donation to the world's oldest rodeo, Prescott Frontier Days. I can't help but wonder if this is a gift of city funds to a private business, especially since Prescott Frontier Days has the use of 17 acres without rent, which could be also considered a gift. Some wonder how much is world's oldest rodeo, Prescott Frontier Days, is costing the taxpayers in-kind gifts. There should be a cost analysis done on how much the use of city personnel, overtime, Parks and Rec, police, fire, public works, etc., is this in addition to the $50,000 donation. The public would like to see what accounting source, i.e. general funds, this is coming from. What other funds does the city distribute or provide to? Prescott Frontier Days Foundation, Prescott Frontier Days, 1888 Buckle Club, or any other subsidiaries using 1840 Rodeo Drive. Why is the city continuing to give Prescott Frontier Days this money when they pay no rent to the city? This is a gift. Does the city review or look at Prescott Frontier Days marketing plan? Because the intent of the $50,000 is for marketing to ensure that these funds are used appropriately. If the tourism department hasn't looked at any of the marketing plans of any entity requesting these sizable donations, I suggest now is the time to do so and to make it transparent for the public, including each entity's application. Does the city do this for any other business? Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you.
That's all, Mayor.
All right, we'll now move on to the consent agenda. We have 6 items on consent. Does any member of the council wish to take an item off for consideration? Nope. You? Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion on the remaining items on the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve consent agenda items 8A through 8F.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. Now we'll consider liquor licenses. We have 3 liquor license applications. Will please read item 9A.
Continued item for a public hearing and consideration for a location transfer Series 7 beer and wine bar liquor license application from Jeffrey Craig Miller, applicant for the Prescott Athletic and Social Club, location 1 Kingswood Drive. The application fees have been paid. The sign has been posted for more than 35 days. Staff has reviewed the application and determined that it is in compliance. Prior to today, no public comments have been received by staff.
Councilmember Roosing, I believe you asked this item to be continued because you had some questions.
Yes, I had some questions, and I was hoping that the applicant or the owner would be present here. And so I guess they still can't make it, but we do have a resident of Kingswood. I'd like to hear some comments from him.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, I have lived in the Kingswood neighborhood for...
Sir, can you state your name, please?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Scott Badeau. And I've lived in the Kingswood neighborhood for 4 or 5 years, and I think most of the residents find Prescott Athletic Club to be a tremendous asset to the neighborhood. But I do appreciate you wanting to do some due diligence to make sure that, you know, the traffic and that sort of thing will not change. One potential concern I did have is when the previous owners applied for a license, the signage with that application was all over the street, you know, very publicly noticeable, and I don't believe that was applied this time. So, you know, just wanted to make sure that when the license does go through, there's no objections about any process issues or anything like that. But again, I would just, you know, appreciate the council looking into this to make sure that it does fit well with the residential neighborhood, since it's quite a bit different than, you know, the typical establishment that would have a license like that.
Scott, I have a question now.
Sure.
The club had a liquor license previously, and there weren't any problems.
Correct. So under the previous owner, I recall them going out for the application when they bought it from the owner before that. And so I do remember seeing the signage there. And then it was a club that had membership for, you know, pool use and that sort of thing. And so the public could come and have dinner, something like that. But in general, it was a limited number of patrons that were members and didn't have a lot of traffic coming in and out of the neighborhood there.
So there weren't any problems or anything, because that's what I was concerned about.
Yeah, no problems in that venue, but it was a different owner. So.
Okay, that's all from me. Anyone else?
Thank you for your comments. I'll entertain a motion on this then.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Mayor, I move to approve for recommendation the liquor license number 306691 for location transfer 7 Series beer and wine bar liquor license application for Prescott Athletic and Social Club, location 1 Kingswood Drive.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. We'll move on to item 9B.
Public hearing and consideration for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license application from Andrea Dahlman Lekowitz, applicant for Augie's Prescott, location 3460 Gateway Boulevard. The application fee has been paid and the sign has been posted for the required 20 days. Staff has reviewed the application and determined that it is in compliance and no public comments have been received.
Well, I know we had Augie here at our last meeting, so any questions or concerns I had regarding that are sufficiently handled. Do we have any other comments or concerns? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second. Please vote.
Mayor Good?
Aye.
Thank you. Passes 7-0.
Mayor, I move to approve liquor license number 307016 for a new Series 12 restaurant liquor license application for Augie's Prescott, location 3460 Gateway Boulevard.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. Now we'll move on to the final liquor license application.
Public hearing and consideration for a new Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license application from Estevan Antonio Valdez, applicant for Sheldon Street Gas and Grill, location 810 East Sheldon Street. The application fee has been paid and the sign has been posted for the required 20 days. Staff has reviewed the application and determined that it is in compliance and no public comments have been received.
Very well. Is the applicant here or the owner? No.
I don't believe so, no.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Mayor, I move to approve liquor license number 309631 for a new Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license application for Sheldon Street Gas and Grill, location 810 Sheldon Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Mayor? Passes 7-0.
Very good. All right, we'll now move to item 10A.
Adoption of ordinance number 2024-1846, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning of certain property within the city of Prescott, generally located at 3910 East State Route 69 from residential rural RE2 acre zoning district to multifamily medium density MFM zoning district, otherwise known as REZ 24-005, and approval of WSA 24-035 for Les Reserve Garden Apartments.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Tammy Duet, Community Planner. Before you is a request for rezoning. The parcel in question is approximately 5.63 acres. The current zoning is RE 2 acre. So that was a zoning when it was annexed into the city of Prescott, was the equivalent zoning of the RC 2A for the county. And there's been no other rezonings or requested on this property since it's been annexed. The proposed zoning before you is for multifamily medium density to allow for an 82-unit apartment complex with a community center and pickleball courts. Issues for consideration were considered by our Planning and Zoning Commission when they reviewed this at their September 12th meeting. All these were addressed at the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is in compliance with our current 2015 general plan and with our future 2025 general plan. This is designated as commercial land use, which allows for multifamily uses. This is also a designated commercial corridor, which also does allow for multiple multifamily, single family, and commercial uses. Here's the subject property. It is the lower half. At one point, it was all one parcel and was used for single-family residential use. The parcel was split recently. So the north half of the property is a single-family residential use, is not part of this application. All we're looking at is the 5.63 acres that are highlighted in that slide. Here's some imagery of the property. It is right off of State Route 69 across from the Costco store. There are hotels to the west and apartments. To the east is vacant land. To the north, as I said, the applicant is developing their own single-family residential property and is not part of this request. Access is off State Route 69. They have been working with ADOT extensively. So they've been approved for a right-in, right-out, and also there is currently a left-hand turn lane into this property, which will be continued to be used. They are proposing emergency access into Yavapai Hills, up into, let's see if this is gonna work. Wrong button. That's not working. Okay. They are proposing emergency egress into Yavapai Hills to the west there. Again, here's the a zoom up of the property. It is have a single family residence that was historically
Tammy, did you
used.
say emergency egress to the west?
To the east.
To the east.
Yes,
yeah.
sorry. It does have access off of State Route 69, which will continue to be used. And they do have already an existing, like I said, left-hand turn lane onto the property, and working with ADOT will continue to be used for this property. So they do have a left-hand turn lane that will not interfere with the access into Costco, and then right in and right out only into the property. Here's the proposed site plan. All the commercial, the pickleball and the community center is closer to State Route 69. There is a berm along from 69 to the property that will remain to kind of shield this property, the development, so it won't be as visible from State Route 69. It is 82 apartments and 4 3-story buildings, and they've been kind of split up to meet fire code regulations. And then there's adequate open space around the property that can be used by residents through walking trails and stuff around the property. And there is also a swimming pool in the middle of the development too for use by the property owners. I mean, not property owners, people staying there. This has been reviewed by ADOT. They've worked extensively in regards to, they'll have to bring water lines across 69 to the property, and then other improvements too. So they are working with ADOT, and all of them have been approved through ADOT, all their improvement plans. Staff has reviewed this, all our different departments. It was a conceptual review. So if this is approved, there'll be a further review with more detail as we get the engineering plans and more the building permits. Before the Planning and Zoning Commission, we did get a letter of opposition and then also a petition. The petition had 111 signatures representing 76 parcels. Most of them were within this area. The concerns were traffic on course on 69, which is being mitigated through ADOT, and then also impacts to the residential neighborhood and that apartments bring crime. So that was basically what the letters in opposition have said. We do have buffers. The residential development to the north is a buffer to a majority of Yavapai Hills. Then also the applicant owns the vacant property to the east with no plans of development, so then that will also remain as a buffer, except for the emergency egress and out to that area. This was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their September 12th, 2024 meeting. They did recommend unanimously approval in conformance with the site plan. This was also reviewed by the Water Issues Subcommittee at their October 1st, 2024 meeting and unanimously recommended approval of their application for 10.74 acre feet per year. That concludes my presentation. I'm free to answer any questions, and the applicant also has a presentation with more information.
Yeah.
Councilmember Roosing, you have a question?
Yeah. Thank you, Tammy. I have a question. I'm just curious, since this is on our State Highway Economic Corridor, why isn't it rezoned BG Business General, which has a multifamily component in it?
When we look at rezoning, we look at what they're wanting to do, and we look at the least that zoning that will allow for the use, and the multifamily medium is appropriate for what they're proposing to do.
Thank you. And then there was a mention of workforce housing at the Water Issues Subcommittee, and the applicant said he didn't have anything in writing or anything. Has anything changed?
I'll defer that to the applicant. I believe he has that addressed in his presentation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lafferty, do you want to come up and present your project to us now?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Only left, right? Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and thank you for having us. We appreciate your time today about this rezoning case, REZ 24-005. Excuse me. We appreciate your time. My team is here, Art Kanajan, AAK Architects, Gary Kelly, Kelly Wise Engineering, and Craig Dorn at Lafferty Construction Company. My name is Michael Lafferty. I do reside at 3910 East State Route 69 in Prescott. I am a resident here. I am talking about the 5.63 acres at 103200008D as parcel number. And we have worked very hard with the city, and they've been great. ADOT, APS, Yavapai Hills, we had a great HOA meeting with Yavapai Hills. They were relieved to know that certain things that they thought were, or they conceived, were not true. We got through a very good meeting with them. I purchased the property in December of 21. We did a 2-split in 22. We had 2 PAC meetings to thoroughly go through the project. The first one, there was changes between 1 and 2. And we are under construction when you see the architect on the residence currently. And at this point, I would like to turn it over to Art, the architect, to explain the project. And Councilmember Roosing, I have all the information you asked for at the very end. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and council members. Thank you for your time, for allowing us to do this presentation. I'm Art Kanajan, and I'm with AAK Architecture and Interiors, a principal of the firm. I have been involved in projects in Prescott Valley personally and through our firm in city of Prescott for quite a few projects, including for Dorn Homes and also for Lafferty Development. We've been partners with Lafferty Development since 2018 as a team on again, multiple projects. This is for us, a beautiful little project because of the location. There's wonderful natural things going on, some not so natural. The kind of like the drainage pathway on the east side of the property, which has actually become like a little forest and a little micro environment of nature and everything else going on there, including some of the wildlife there. So our intent here has been to, even though this is like workforce housing as it's intended for, it's a bit of an amenity-rich project that we're proposing. The first amenity is the walking and riding path that we're hoping to do on the perimeter of the property. On the north side, it will actually be part of the single-family property, but on the other three sides, it's going to be 30-foot wide pathway doing a big circle around it. And in addition to that, as Tammy spoke about it, we've got a swimming pool for the residents and also the pickleball courts and a community center as well. So it's 82 units. We're trying to do the project in a way that kind of works with the site. On the east side, there's a significant drop down in the contours of the property. So those buildings are like 2.5 stories that work with the contour. The highest point would be at 2 stories, and as the contour goes down, it goes to 3 stories. The 2 other buildings on the west side are 3 full stories. I'm calling them 2 buildings, but in fact, because of fire department issues, they're divided. Each is divided into 2 buildings, technically. The other thing about this project is we are trying to also enhance the landscaping, which you'll see another drawing later on. But it also shows you, this slide shows you the distances to all of the points around the site, whether it's to Butterfly Drive or, keep forgetting the other name of the roadway, I can't read it too, Butsage, yes. And then to the north of the site as well. There are big distances from the entry to those points, and you see that our development is actually only has a footprint of, believe it or not, 9.12%. We've adjusted all of the sizes of the units as well to be more in line with what workforce housing would be. But again, it's still only 82 units. The landscaping you'll see further on later on in the slide is enhanced throughout this site where the buildings will be going in, and we are attempting to keep as much of the natural landscaping in the more like wilderness areas. Of course, the project will also be in conformance with the wilderness code. I forgot the exact name of it that the city has in force. So we're going to work with that to make sure that there are no fire or other issues that could possibly affect this property. Thank you very much.
Well, I have a question for you since you're talking about the contour lines and the sloping.
Yeah.
Looking at this emergency egress road that's going to connect with Butterfly Drive, looking at the contour lines here, that looks like a pretty steep slope as you loop around and then head towards that Butterfly Drive cul-de-sac. What kind of improvement on that egress road? Will that be a improved road? Will it just be gravel or dirt or what?
It's basically, from my understanding, a gravel roadway, and this is recommended by the city's fire department as an emergency access out of the property to Butterfly Drive.
Yeah,
so
my concern is you get a heavy monsoon downpour on that, it could wash out the condition of that road pretty quickly unless it's pretty well improved.
And that question, I guess, can be answered by our civil engineer, Mr. Kelly. So I'll defer to him on that. But again, it's per the requirements of the city's fire department. So, and that's a very good point, obviously. It can't be built so that it washes out, especially given the kind of like meandering plan look of that road.
Well, I probably assume that you do that little meandering to make sure that you can have that road sustain itself over time and not be a cross slope, which is difficult to maintain over a long period.
Right.
So I understand Mr. Lafferty owns that parcel directly to the east, all the way to the connection at Butterfly Drive in that cul-de-sac?
Correct.
I'll go ahead if you
Are there
want to
any more
answer that question
questions
for
for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, good afternoon. I'm Gary Kelly, Kelly Wise Engineering, 146 Grove Avenue. We're the civil engineer on the project, and that the access road that you're talking about there came about because the water system that feeds this project comes from Walker Road to the west of Costco, goes on the south side of 69. We bore across 69 into the roadway alignment in the middle of these apartments, and then to make it up the hill that you were talking about, that switchback is, thank you, Mike, trying to lengthen the road enough where we could keep the grade achievable, and then the water line is physically in that road, so it's a road for maintenance for the water main, and the city fire department also wanted it due to the wildland urban interface. They wanted connectivity there in case some catastrophic wildfire or some event to happen. So that road that you were talking about is for those two purposes, access and to maintain the water main.
So is that heavily forested? Do you have a lot of trees in that area?
It's brushy and pinyon pines and a steep side hill coming southwesterly down into the wash is to the east of our site, pretty much on the common lot line between our east boundary and Michael's property to the northeast of this site. The wash kind of runs up that east side of our 5.63 acres plus the 9.7 that he has north of there. But the water main, the other aspect of the water main, we had like multiple different layouts trying to figure out what's best for the project and for the adjacent neighborhood. And the connection to Butterfly it's coming off of the Walker Road, like I mentioned. The pressure down at Walker Road is like 150 PSI. We have to put a pressure reducing valve at the southwest corner of our site and reduce the pressure so that it mimics the zone pressure of zone 11 where Butterfly Drive is. And when we tested Butterfly Drive fire hydrant before this connection, it only was flowing like 350 gallons a minute out of the hydrant. When we put this in, it jumps to 980 with this connection, and it'll help about the first 20 lots east of Butterfly will have increased pressure and flows to their system that's currently fed from the other direction by a 6-inch line. So we'll be looping the system and give them a redundant feed into the system. And not only that, 6 years ago when we were looking at this project, this water connection helps the corridor down 69 where La Quinta is, and even where that new project went in. We were looking at that land 6 years ago and working with Eric Bay, and when he was at Public Works with the city, and it improved the fire flows over there on the project site where that new project went in on Robin Drive. So it improves the water system in Yavapai Hills and the 69 corridor along there.
So will you firewise that egress road and clear all the brush and any trees within 20 feet of each side of the road?
Totally, and and slightly beyond that, depending on where in fact, that depicts it, those little pop-out images on there. Like on that curve, you can see to the right, there's a line, and to the left, there's a line, and on top of the curve, those are the match points for the 2-to-1 cut fill. Does that make sense? Is this a laser?
I can see that on the
It's
screen.
not showing up. Oh,
Yeah.
if you can see
You
those
probably
lines
tell I
that
used to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so some of those contour lines and considerations can be quite important.
well, you can kind of see the 20-foot road easement that goes through there, and where that next line outside of those lines are, that's the catch point where the contours are catching, meaning all of that would be needed to create the cut, to make the road, and then create the fill. So both those sides of the road are getting cut and filled to make the road up to Butterfly.
You know, Tammy, I had a question. Do the residents on Butterfly Drive, knowing that they're going to have increased water pressure, have they been informed of that? Because sometimes improved fire flows into an area can be very beneficial, but sometimes if you're not prepared for that extra pressure, it can cause some problems within their residence.
It won't increase the pressure because, like I said, that pressure reducing valve that we have on there is mimicking the pressure that they have currently in the system, the static pressure. But when you're trying to pull, say, 1,000 gallons a minute out of a hydrant at the remote end of Butterfly right now, it's going through thousands of foot of 6-inch pipe that can't handle 1,000 gallons a minute. So when you bring a 12, we're running a 12 all the way from Walker all the way to Butterfly and tying into the 6. Now the 12-inch can feed the 1,000 gallons a minute they're trying to draft there, but the pressure at Butterfly, the static pressure would be the same.
Yeah, then that would solve that problem for the current residents. But if there were a need for firefighting and to increase the flow, then that could be provided.
Definitely. And for that matter, they could adjust the PRV both on our site and the PRV that feeds Butterfly. They could ratchet it up if the water company, water ops decided we want more pressure there.
Great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Mayor. I think my question probably is a little bit more for Mr. Lafferty, if you don't mind. Yeah. Hi.
Thank you.
I'm the council liaison to the Workforce Housing Committee. So your project has caught the eye of several people in town that were, as you know, we have a need for workforce housing. I did have a couple questions, though, after a brief discussion with a few people. So I was wondering, does your project meet the definition of workforce housing? And are you accepting grant money from the government for the workforce housing project?
No, I'm not.
Okay. The other question they wanted to know is, I noticed in your graph you've got the Imperial Apartments, I believe that's down in Phoenix, correct? Was 10% less than the average rent. And then your VB on 12th Apartments was 27% less. And just in a quick search, I noticed that that has less or fewer amenities. So the other question that several of the people were wondering is, because you have so many amenities in this project, is there a separate fee to maintain those amenities, like the pickleball court and the community center?
No, there's only your rent.
Okay.
And I'm gonna walk you through a presentation once Craig's through on the water line, and I think that I can answer all your questions extensively. And I've done extensive research after speaking with Councilmember Rusling, and I believe I have your answers. If we just let one more person speak, then the rest of the presentation is what Councilmember Rusling was looking for, and I believe I will answer all your questions, and if I haven't, then I will at that time.
I'll save the last one then for after your presentation.
You can warm me up.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
why don't you complete your presentation?
Okay,
If
thank
we have
you.
any additional
Thank you.
questions, we'll ask them at that time.
Mayor, council members, my name is Craig Dorn. I work for Lafferty Construction. I oversee the actual construction of the project if it should ever come to fruition. As part of our due diligence, we did do a traffic impact study with CivTech out of Phoenix. So they reviewed all of the traffic impact. We're showing here that our project generates approximately 600 trips per day. The majority of those trips are a right turn, are a traveling towards Prescott. All traffic out of this project is right turn out, only right turn out. ADOT is in the process of designing a median project for that section of Highway 69, and part of that median project is a center median that will restrict traffic turning left. You will not be able to turn left out of this project. So we'll have a deceleration lane, right turn in coming westbound, and a right turn out only going westbound, as well as the existing left turn in coming eastbound with the new median project. So we've worked extensively with ADOT on that. The fire department has reviewed everything, access. So far, they're satisfied with all of the access that they have into the property. We see that currently ADOT says there is about 38,900 trips per day on Highway 69, on that section of Highway 69. So our 600 trips a day adds just over 1% to the traffic impact of that section of road. So it's a fairly minor impact on the overall traffic on Highway 69. So are there any questions about ADOT or access into?
Mayor Pro Tem, you had one more question. Okay, Councilmember Rusing.
Thank you. So what if a resident wants to head to Phoenix? He's going to be making a right turn, go down to the next traffic light, and then hang a U-ey?
And make a U-turn, which is legal in the state of Arizona. ADOT has reviewed that, and that is completely acceptable to them. That was their recommendation, was that traffic would get into the left turn lane at Walker Road and make a U-turn there and head back towards eastbound on 69.
And then my next question is, I hope you're working with ADOT so that when you cut your trenches to cross the highway to the project, that you do it before they lay down the new pavement and not after?
So we're boring under Highway 69, so we will not impact the surface of Highway 69 at all. ADOT has been very thorough, and they've done one review on our plans, and they have been very thorough on that review. They said we will not work in Highway 69 simultaneously. We will either get in before their project begins or after their project completes, but they will not allow two contractors to work in that area simultaneously.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you. Could you come back up to the mic?
I'm sorry. Yes.
So the fire chain access, the fire exit, is that going to be chained so people who want to go east can't cut through the fire lane in order to get to their light and go east? So you're chaining that off in both ends?
The end of the road at Butterfly Drive at the cul-de-sac will be chained off. We'll have a crash gate on it with I would assume a Knox lock on it or something like that, so that the fire department can access it, City of Prescott maintenance can access it, but residents will not be able to use that road. They won't be able to get out onto Butterfly.
Wonderful.
That was a big concern. The HOA was very concerned about traffic coming in and out on Butterfly. Once they were assured that that was the case, that they were not going to have traffic on Butterfly, they were very relieved. So
I can imagine.
Yes.
But just a question to further relieve them. If the fire started north or east, would you all consider opening the fire gate so they can get out the other way through yours?
Absolutely, yeah. I would think we certainly wouldn't trap anybody in a fire if that was the case.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
Another answer to that question is the fire department controls that lane. It is not a drivable path. Unless you have a ski sled, you're not going to be able to come down this hill. It's 22% grade. But if the fire department, if there's emergency and they get people out, it is a compacted gravel road. And so washing out, I guess it would take a large rain, and it's not impossible. We've seen that before. So just some clarifications on the road. It's gated on both sides. You have to cross a creek or the drainage area, and it's not very feasible unless you have an ATV or some type of Polaris vehicle. Okay, thank you. So I'm so happy to do this research. Just a couple highlights. We worked with ADOT for 3 years on left turn in. We got their approval. We've worked with Public Works on the water line, which does help Yavapai. The fire department planned the route up the hill and with Gary. WSA, this says we're going to a meeting. We had the meeting, and we did get approval. And the city planning support on the project in Yavapai Hills, they actually applauded us 3 times after we answered their questions. So just want to finish that right there. Okay, so I know there's a lot of people who talk about workforce housing. I've been working with the governor's office and other offices in Phoenix about workforce housing. I'm actually one who's done it. The Imperial is 140 units. This is the one that doesn't have amenities. The other one does. This is VB on 12th Street. This has pools and a lot of amenities. And these are these are micro units, and the other is workforce housing. And here is where we're under the, all of these meet the AMI. And downtown Phoenix, we're 10% less, and we're 27% less on VB on 12th. So we do meet the AMI. Here's the colored version of the project. Okay, so here's the question. People say, how do you get to workforce housing? You reverse engineer, so our square footages of 500 for studio, 650 for 1-1s, and 850 for 2-2s. You reverse, and if you're at 250 or $3 a foot, that's how you gauge it. So that's why we have reduced square footages, both in Imperial and VB on 12th Street. And so here's our square footages on the entire site. Nothing's over 850. And so here is what you asked for, Council Rusing, here's your 3 categories. By the way, after research, HUD, workforce housing, sustainable, affordable, any HUD or any measurement of cost for rent is done off AMI. There's not a form I can hand you that says we're workforce housing. And I tried every department just to make sure. So all the measurements are based on AMI. And as you can see, all of our units meet 80% and 100%. They even have 120%. I didn't display it, but we beat that as well. And if you add 2 people to a unit, you beat all of them. So this is your Prescott AMI. Here's our, and they base it on 30% of the rents. So we are on 80%, we meet all of them. On 50%, we do not meet it on the studio, But if it's 2 people, we do meet it, which they do capture 1, 2, and 3 persons. But over in Dell's View, we had studios and 2 Embry-Riddle students would rent it, and now you're within the AMI. Also, in addition to the AMI, we got a very friendly letter from HUD on a 221D4 loan, which is 40-year amortization, which reduces the cost of the monthly mortgage, which reduces the rent. And here's the letter saying that Prescott is prime for another HUD 221D4, which is not a Section 8 loan. It's not a subsidized housing loan. It's just a loan. It's a market-driven loan. Here's another way you get down to workforce housing. So we've only used the literature in HUD in the following statements. So workforce housing is defined as targeting households with an annual income between 80 and 120% of AMI that would not qualify for subsidies. We qualify. So that's all I can prove to you. I mean, all the power of zoning is at the council. So some benefits of workforce housing is our land use is less than 10%, low utility costs, water conservation, plumbing. You've seen the matrix, and we're very low density at 10%. We're parking like 1.7%, so we're way above the 1.25 on our parking. So I am now ready to take questions.
Councilman Gambogi.
I think I've seen this presentation about 3 times now, and every one of them is good, especially when Craig Dorn speaks. I have when you compared how much lower you were in Phoenix with the Imperial and the other unit, how does the square foot on those units compare to the square foot of what you're presenting here?
On Imperial, we're larger, but the AMI in Phoenix is higher. On VB on 12th Street, it was called St. Ambrose at one time. We shatter the AMI, and we're 93% rented. We've been 93% rented the whole time. We've been congratulated by the mayor of Phoenix and council members for those efforts. We're the only ones who have done workforce housing in downtown Phoenix. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I do want to finish up my question
Thank
you. Based on, again, a conversation with several people involved with the workforce housing issues here in Prescott. So the question is, did you consider cutting out some of the amenities and lowering the rent in your project there? The other thing is, it was brought to my attention that there have been studies that you've got 500 square foot, 650, and 850. When you get below 800, or actually it's 750, the turnover rate is so high because it's such a small unit, it's difficult to keep the tenant there for long periods of time. So when you were costing all this out, did you take any of that into effect? And also, the other question was the terms of the loan. We just had this happen here in Prescott where we had a subsidized low-income apartment complex that took a lot of grant money. I think they had a 20-year satisfaction on it, and then once the loan terms were satisfied through the government loan, they turned it into market, and they pretty much displaced several hundred people out of the unit. So that's another concern up here, that they're worried about how long you'll be keeping that as workforce housing, and would it have been more prudent maybe to cut down on some of those amenities and make a little larger units so that you'll have a longer time for your tenants? Just curious if any of that came to mind.
So, excuse me, out of about a $14 million budget, The amenities are about $1 million. And I am willing to put more equity in the project to have the amenities because we have the walking path all the way around. And it's a matter of equity. And I believe that a 600 square foot swimming pool, a bathroom, some pickleball courts is not out of the question to increase their livability. And I'm willing to put that money in myself because the HUD 221D4 allows certain things, and it's a market-driven loan. But I'm willing to do more. So on my dime. And also, if you look up here, the water meter permit's $54,000. The water line cost at my expense is $1.5 million. The building permits one time is $250 plus or minus. And the TP tax on construction costs is about $906,000. That's one time. Annual, you get property tax and you get annual rent tax. Oh, excuse me. Well, here I go. Tammy. I went backwards. Okay, hang on. Here we go. So here's the two we've built already in conjunction with the council. Here's the rents. Here's the property. Here's the square footages. Here's your AMI. This is a project we just got zoned last Monday, 354 in Coolidge, workforce housing. Procter & Gamble's across the street, Nikola, inland, the inland port. And so here's 354, all workforce housing. Here's a property in Dallas, Texas. We're going light tech, 55 and older, and workforce housing, of course. And here's another one in Costa Grande, 54 units, which is across the street from Lucid. So I focus on putting apartments near employment.
You know, I think we can all support that. I think what people were just concerned with was because we do have a lot of competition up here from people like me, retired and on fixed income, is the units that you're building to appear to be building towards the retirement community, which is going to be a little competition for the people that are actually, you know, working today, the younger set. So when the pickleball courts went in, I think that concerned a lot of people that were interested in workforce housing. So for a younger, you know, a younger generation of people. But do you have a term limit on your loan that would have to stay for a workforce housing community for 10 years or 10 years? I mean, do they have terms on those loans now?
No, the 221D4, which is 40-year AM, no personal guarantee, low interest rate, high LTC, loan to cost. It doesn't restrict me from having the amenities because it's a market-driven loan.
Yeah.
But it's a very affordable loan, and it benefits having the 10 extra years on the AM schedule to reduce rents. So I'm here to build apartments for workforce housing. I've only done one project that was not, and that's Dells View, 200 units that I developed on Willow Lake. So, but those rents are pretty inexpensive too, actually. And in our studio, we have lots of roommates at Embry-Riddle. So if you consider the AMI times 2 people, we're within all of the AMI on this project.
But through the Fair Housing Act, you can't really turn away retired people, can you? I mean, how are you going to be able to control that?
I would never return retired people.
Yeah, okay.
Never. I mean, it's market driven and there's no rules. And in fact, that would be totally probably illegal.
Thank you.
Have any more comments or questions from the council? Have any public comment?
We do not, Mayor.
I would like to thank you. I'm a very sincere developer. I love Prescott. I know your needs. I want to do more workforce housing here. And I ask for your approval for this project. I think that we have studied it well and hard and worked with the different agencies and P&Z and WIS and now yourself, and I hope that we have a positive outcome. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a motion?
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion at this point, and thank you, Mr. Lafferty.
I move to approve the adoption of ordinance 2024-1846 related to REZ 24-005 and approval of WSA 24-35 for La Reserve Garden Apartments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. Good luck, Mr. Lafferty, and I appreciate your efforts here.
It was my birthday yesterday, so thank you.
Sure, I apologize. I didn't get your card.
I'll get you one.
All right, we'll move on to item 10B.
Presentation, discussion, and possible direction regarding the status of the council strategic plan. Tammy, can you grab me the clicker before you go? Sorry.
Okay, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Excited to be able to bring this strategic plan update to you today. As you know, this is something that's been in the works for a while. As the Council talked about this back in February, we formally adopted in June, and now we have a chance for our first update on how things are going and how things will go from here. Jumping right in faster than I expected. Hit the button. But before I start, I do want to just make sure to say thank you to the tremendous staff. As I've gone through this, I've been really impressed at how much we've accomplished already and the momentum that we're building already. And I want to say thank you to them and thank you to the council for the vision to put this together and help us to move forward in this way. So jumping right in, strategic priority number 1 is public safety. And you can guess some of the things we'll talk about here. So result number 1 was talking about improved emergency services and results evidenced by 2 new strategically located fire stations, 90% of our responses within 8 minutes, and the ability to call 911 from anywhere in Prescott. So let's talk about some of these strategic fire locations. I'll talk a little bit more on the next slide. When we talk about both the fire stations and the ability to respond within 8 minutes, one of the things we've been working on this year is Proposition 478. You're familiar with it. I think you've all campaigned on it extensively over the last several months. It's a crucial piece of our ability to do this. It's a crucial part of being able to locate these fire stations and being able to get this response that we're after. I know there's interest in locations. Our modeling has been, we've been able to do some modeling to this point. I think our model got a little bit more robust last week, towards the end of the week. And so we haven't had a lot of opportunity to stare at that yet, but we do have a few locations we're really zeroing in on. First, along 89 between Rosser and Willow Lake Road, you see the map there where our response times are a bit longer on that east side of Rosser and Smoke Tree, Willow Lake Road, and in that area. 3 locations have really stood out. One is the Adult Center. I think we're familiar with that one. 89 and Prescott Lakes Parkway, there is property that is city-owned and creates some really interesting advantages, both from the perspective of travel time, ability to jump on 89 and move in any direction relatively quickly, but also backup if we need to move a fire truck, say, into downtown or out towards the mall or Yavapai Hills area. That location allows us to move relatively quickly to those places as well. We are concerned about some of the floodplain impacts there, so we'll be digging in on that. And then Willow Lake Road and 89 by that Watson Lake Park roundabout. some good potential there. Also, maybe some proximity to other traffic like festivals and that kind of thing that we might want to think about before we locate a station in that area. The second area that we've identified is on the north side of town near the airport. We've talked mostly about the Heights Church location. We've also been talking with some landowners in that area about the possibility of getting closer to that 89A area, again, that would provide really easy access in all directions. Good advantages there. We have one landowner who's verbally told us they'd be willing to donate property for a fire station. So that's something that we'll follow up on. But in both areas, again, this is tremendous progress we passed this plan a few months ago, and we've got a proposition on the ballot, and we've got sites located, and we'll continue to work on what does the architecture look like, and appreciate all the prayers from the council. Absolutely. Good. 911 from a mobile device. We're going to need at least 3 new towers that we've identified. There is some strong interest from cell phone providers. This is an area where we'll appreciate direction from council on where those might be and what would be acceptable as we try to locate those towers. I see a question.
Councilwoman Furworth, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Interested in the work on the 3 new cell phone towers. It's cool to see the number. Wondering if we are in coordination with, given the amoeba shape of our town, if we're in coordination with the county and our neighboring towns, Chino Valley and Prescott Valley, on this one. And then question on if strong interest from cell phone providers, if there's better timing we can do versus our original goal of 2029.
So on part A, I haven't had those conversations. I can find out more about what conversations staff has had about county or neighboring jurisdiction locations. The strong interest comment is specifically from our real estate division that has been contacted proactively by firms that would like to locate towers to serve Prescott. And I'm forgetting the last part of your question.
Given the strong interest, do we think we could do better than 2029?
That's going to depend a little bit on direction from council. But if there's strong interest to move forward, then yes, I think we absolutely could.
The reason I'm bringing up the county is because we continue to get, public comment on the whole intersection with Williamson Valley Road heading north, et cetera. And so given so many of those residents are residents of the county, it would behoove the two of us working closely to try and locate the right place, whether it be within our city limits or it would be within their their county limits, to get that sooner than later from a safety standpoint. So that's the only reason I was asking about, can we work with the county especially?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and we can have that conversation.
Councilmember Rusing.
Oh, I'd also like to jump in. We have stealth technology where we can put cell tower panels like in parking garages, church towers, and also locate panels on existing streetlight poles. And I agree with Lois. We do need, it's a regional issue, and we should work with the county in serving our community however we can to help them access the 911 calls. Thank you.
Yep, that sounds great. So moving quickly through here, understanding that none of you planned on this for your dinner arrangements, so I'll keep moving. Public safety result 2 talks about full staffing of our police department, proactive community policing, and increased traffic enforcement. And this is an exciting slide to share. We're making fantastic progress on getting to full staff in our police department. If you take apples to apples and compare last year to the current year, we have essentially 2 remaining vacancies. So we're working to fill those. You'll see we've got quite a few in the pipeline. There was a couple of new positions allocated in the current fiscal year, so we need to work on those as well. The result of this is that we're starting to send people to task forces and to other specialty areas that we maybe haven't been able to participate in for a while. For example, we have a recruit training officer at the police academy. We've added an officer to our traffic safety section. We've dedicated an officer to PANT. It's been about 5 years since we've had an officer dedicated to PANT. That's an important priority for us as well. It's great to be able to participate in that way. And the thing that's probably most exciting for me with my city manager hat on is that we're only selecting quality candidates. We're not lowering standards. We're not, it's competitive. It's difficult to find people. But for example, we had an applicant who tested with us and did well, but we found a less than honorable discharge from the military on their records. And a lot of agencies would have hired that person. In Prescott, we don't. We keep our standards high, and that gives us, I think, a lot of assurance that our police force are going to have the trust and do the work that we expect them to do. We talk a little bit about police, community policing. As staffing improves, we're working to build back up, bike patrols around the downtown area, especially. Some of our public engagement efforts, like the Pink Patch program. This month, we raised $6,500 in the first half of the month related to Pink Patch for breast cancer awareness. It's a fantastic program. We'll add another officer or 2 in this area after we get past the academy graduation.
Councilman Gambogi had a question.
Down on the earlier slide, you had a list of policemen in the pipeline. Considering that pipeline, where would that put us with regards to Prop 478?
What do you mean?
Well, in Prop 478, we said we needed 16 new policemen. What does this add up to?
This is working on filling the vacancies that were already in place. We still need those other 16 if we're going to respond faster.
Okay, this just brings us to net zero.
Correct. This is just trying to deal with, do we have the officers to handle status quo? And then we'll build more officers into faster response and more community policing.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you. Just the number that right now current staffing for police was like 80, what's the number? And this gets us there, this plan?
You're in the ballpark. I know it's 85, 86,
86,
something
87,
like that.
somewhere in that range.
Right. And yes, this again, apples to apples, year over year, you're looking at 2 remaining vacancies after all of these are hired. So we're getting close. Okay, the third point on result 2 is traffic enforcement. And you'll see year over year, I just picked September. We could have picked any month. You'll see a similar sort of number where citations, warning for traffic and parking violations are increased. We're able to be more active. Unfortunately, we also saw an increase in traffic collisions, and we'll continue to work on that, helping folks to slow down and avoid those collisions. Okay, result 3 focuses on our airport. We're excited. We hope for your next council meeting potentially to have the paperwork together essentially to close on land for the runway extension at the airport. That does a few different things, including allowing for, the runway extension itself allows for the DC-10s to help with wildfire. It allows for full planes to take off. There's some economic advantages as well. At the airport, when I talk with the different vendors, everybody's doing very well. Everybody's excited about doing more. We see Qatar expanding and building more on their ramp, and everybody's very interested in continuing to work on airport improvements. Great activity happening there. Okay, moving into priority number 2, which is the economy. And, we're looking for the first point here is the Economic Development Strategic Plan, which you will hear, trying to remember, I want to say it's the study session for either the 5th or the 19th. I think it's the 19th of November. We'll have the presentation of the Economic Development Strategic Plan to this council, and then hopefully have that adopted by the end of the year. Continuing to work on other projects as well. We just completed a hotel and conference feasibility study. We were working on a retail feasibility study. As soon as we completed the hotel and conference center feasibility study, we were contacted by a potential hotelier. We shared the study with them, and they'll be out with us in the next couple of weeks. The owner of the company is coming to meet with us and consider a location in Prescott. A lot of other potential economic development projects in the pipeline. Those are always tough because there's not a lot I can say about them in public, but they're there, and we're excited to see the renewed interest in Prescott and coming to Prescott. Result 3 has to do with the direct spending from tourism. And this is more just informational as we go back and look at the numbers for 2023 that were used to determine the basis here. The real number should have been 224 million rather than 252. And so we might talk about a slight adjustment to this goal down the road here. As far as progress on this, actually, it looks like our visitation was down a little bit over the summer. Not a large amount, but single-digit percentages. And so that's something we'll continue to work on. And
So, Dallin, you're saying that the upgraded number should be current spending of 224 with a 14% increase up to 255.
that's what I would suggest, yeah. Okay. Result 4 on the dynamic economy priority is again about the airport, including economic development strategic plans specific to the airport and some new industry around that airport. One thing I can share is a meeting that we had in the last couple of weeks with, I guess, a business, you could call them a business recruitment individual or company that was very interested in locating businesses in Prescott, in part because there's a direct flight between Prescott and LA, where a lot of the industry that they recruit has offices in LA, and having the location here in Prescott creates a really cool synergy for them. So we'll continue to work on that, as well as other efforts to help the airport not only break even, but start to be a revenue generator for the city. All right, priority 3 is infrastructure.
Councilwoman Furworth, you had a question?
Yeah, I do. Just a question back to result 3 with the change in the numbers. What's the learning as to how we were so far off? So
I'm not entirely sure what you're asking, other than we had a number that was, I guess, expected or tentative, and when they firmed up the number, it was quite a bit lower.
yeah, because I don't think council, we didn't specify a number in February.
Right.
So you all came back to us in June with that number.
Right.
And now it's changed. So what's the learning on to how it's changed so we don't do it again?
Right, right, absolutely. I think we have an answer here at the pulpit.
Yes. So we hire a economic impact specialist that our finance departments use to get these numbers. And the error was when we ran the numbers, we were including county pockets. So we worked with our finance director, Mark Woodfield, to dial back those numbers because we had an overestimation of bed tax and direct spending. So we just brought it back into reality.
Okay, so starting to dive in on infrastructure is priority 3, and result 1 talking about a reduction in traffic injuries, fatalities, traffic congestion, and pedestrian injuries and fatalities. Also a lot going on here, mostly in the area of of studying and learning. We're working on quarterly reports that we'll be able to use to track this and better report how we're doing. Studying Vision Zero enforcement and education program that we hope to have in effect by July of 2027, as well as the safety corridors program on a similar timeline. New developments are being encouraged to think about multimodal transportation, and mostly we're talking there about bike lanes, sidewalks, paths, those kinds of things to get pedestrians off of the road and away from the traffic. That's underway now, and looking at potential potential updates to code and things we can do along those lines. Looking at the traffic congestion, per the 2045 SIMPO plan, we're looking at the widening potential of State Road 89 as identified in the streets plan, the 5-year CIP. The side road connector and Granite Creek crossing also identified in that 5-year CIP and streets plan. We're participating member with SIMPO in their 2050 update, and working on funding and implementation of emergency vehicle preemption of all signals, including repairs of existing signals and codes related to enforcement and multimodal transportation. And related to pedestrians as well, we've submitted a grant application for $2.75 million to help us look at 20 to 25 intersections based on our collision data, and look at roadway improvement, signage, and crosswalks to improve pedestrian safety. We've also installed flashing yellow left turn indication on 89 at Rosser Street to kind of test and refine some of our hardware and programming changes for future installations, and we'll be looking at installing flashing yellow left turn indications at Willow Creek Road at Heritage, Willow Creek Road at Haas, and at 4 Points to help with some of these issues. Some of our strategies we're using related to Result 2, which is talking about the long-range regional transportation plan, mostly involves continuing to participate in SIMPO, hosting the Rural Transportation Summit here last week. We're looking at what advocacy we might be able to pursue, letters of support for particular legislation or funding, just exploring a lot of different opportunities that way, supporting the regional bike and transportation plan, various grant opportunities, those kinds of things. Result 3 is another one where I think we can probably beat the time that we've listed here related to the long-term water management plan. This is in development with a consultant that we've used for a very long time, and we received a $40,000 grant to help with that work. We're hoping to bring an outline to council on December 10th, and we'll continue to develop the plan based on council feedback received at that meeting. Related to workforce housing, the council just approved a workforce housing development, which helps with this initiative. We're finalizing our recommendation for the housing needs assessment consulting selection, and looking at various both projects but also programming. So one of the things that's maybe unique about Prescott is a lot of places looking for workforce housing don't already have projects happening. We have some projects happening where multifamily housing is being constructed, or smaller accessible housing is being constructed, but we also need to work on access to that through down payment assistance or those kinds of programs that will help people get into that housing. So we're looking at some of those as well, inventorying available housing and types, and engaging a consultant to look at implementation of the housing needs assessment. That was something the council approved a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Dallin, from my understanding, the legislature requires us to have that housing needs assessment completed and submitted by the first of the year.
That's correct.
So trying to identify a consultant and then engaging or retaining that consultant and expecting that needs assessment to be completed over the holidays is kind of a heavy lift, isn't it?
That is. I don't know that we'll be completed with the needs assessment by the end of the year. We should be well on our way, and we'll work through.
What are the consequences if we don't submit it by then?
Okay. So the housing needs assessment is due in March of 2025, so we have a little bit more time. Normally on housing needs assessments, if you don't meet a deadline, but you can come in soon after, usually the state is okay with that.
Good.
So we'll come as close to that deadline as we possibly can. All right, looking at our natural environment, first result talks about the open space requirement and our awesome trail connectivity, outdoor recreation. We're seeing a lot of this language being put into our new general plan that will help to continue this this tradition and this character that we have in Prescott. Also, there's more to all of these. Another one of the points I would make on this one is the work that SIMPO is doing to help identify wildlife corridors and trail connectivity opportunities. We're engaged in that as well. Looking at strategic mitigation and response and recovery plan or disaster mitigation. A lot of cool things here. I really am excited about the program through our fire department where individuals who may be have lost their insurance or at risk of losing their insurance can contact the city, can contact our fire department. We'll go out and take a look at their property. We'll make some recommendations. And if they make the improvements that we recommend, we'll write them a letter that they can use to go contact an insurance company. We've seen some really exciting successes with that. It's a unique program that I don't think many places have. I think all of California is probably watching us at this point because they're looking for whatever solutions they can get. That's a fantastic program we have here. We're also talking with the county a little bit about the Office of Emergency Services and where does our role and how do we integrate and what does that look like, all addressing this risk assessment and response. And finally, priority 5, which is about good governance, community-focused and performance-driven organization, beginning with providing a 6-month update. That's what we're doing today. And then we talk about updated performance information by 2027 and fiscal transparency and accountability in the budget. I've talked about this before, but a huge catalyst to this will be our new OpenGov software that we've started implementing. We expect the city budget process will be facilitated through this software for the coming budget year, and that the public will be able to have access online probably April, May, springtime of this coming year. There's a lot here, including the performance measures that is in the strategic plan. I'll also highlight the purchasing portion. So through OpenGov, we'll have the ability to advertise our bids for work to be done in a way that will be seen not just locally, but by any contractor with access to the OpenGov system. So it's very possible we'll start to get more competitive bids from all over, which is, again, is back to running the city government as efficiently and effectively as possible. That competition will be really healthy for us. Of course, our local contractors, our local businesses will have a little advantage. They won't have the travel time. They won't have some of those things. But we're excited to see that competition help us to be more efficient and effective. We're right on track with our implementation. which began, I believe, September 1st, and on track to be rolling here in the spring. Okay. So I tried to move through that relatively quickly. Hopefully that wasn't too painful for you. We're excited about so much, but especially the progress through Proposition 478, what could happen with that in terms of our police and fire response. We've got a lot of economic development opportunities. We see a lot of great things happening around the airport right now. A lot of progress in all of the areas that we've talked about. We're scheduling or have scheduled a retreat for the council December 3rd and 4th so that we can talk more about mission, vision, values, and any updates that the council may feel are necessary to the plan as we've talked about today. We'll also be talking more as staff over the next several months about key performance indicators that we can use to start tracking, that we can start reporting on dashboards for the public to be able to follow and see. And this is probably just a me thing, but I'm also going to promote the idea that we make the language a little more concise. It's a small thing. We'll talk about that more in December. I'm happy at this point to answer any questions I haven't already answered.
Any questions or concerns from the council? Do we have any public comment?
I think it's a good
We
job.
do not.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Just one question, Dallin. So a few years ago, I had a meeting with our then Dr. Robin Sabata about the airport, and we talked a little bit about the economic development. And at that time, she told me that the airport and Embry-Riddle were a $500 million economic driver. So 2 years later, at least, I'm sure that number's up. Do you know anything about that?
I don't have the number off the top of my head.
Okay.
We can ask for it.
Yeah, I'd love to know that just because it is such a, as you can see, so many good things happening out in that area.
Yeah, there really is a lot happening there, and a lot of potential around the airport as
Yeah.
we start to be strategic about the development of that property.
I agree.
That will really, again, the goal isn't just to have the airport be part of the city and maybe a break even would be great, but to actually have it be a revenue generating economic engine within the city.
A diamond in the rough. Thank you.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. Super job. Really excited about this. Coming from corporate America, this is what I'm used to using boards for: is reviews and updates and solving of dilemmas or problems. So I see progress in multiple fronts. What I would love is if this could be somehow put together in a link presentation teaser that we could push out via social media in multiple places, because people have been, they heard us getting all excited about this update, but they're not here in the room. And I would love to have as many people as possible see that we are making progress and there's hope. And also how important their vote is on 478 to continuing to make this kind of progress. So as soon as we can get something together, I think it's critical. Thanks.
Would love
Yeah,
to
I
see
agree with you, Councilwoman. I've heard a number of people say, well, you're not doing any planning. You don't have a strategic plan. You don't plan your budget. And you're right, because they're not in the room, they don't even see that we are planning, that we do have a strategic plan, that we do have a budget workshop every year. So sometimes we assume that people are aware of that when in fact they aren't, and maybe more outreach and being able to push some of this information out in social media and other media options will let people understand that we're making a diligent effort to plan for the future. Councilmember Rusing?
Oh, I would just like to thank everyone for all the hard work, the staff, and this strategic plan is a catalyst for us to move forward. So I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Thank you all, and I'll close this with a quote from that famous Iron Lady, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. And this was 30 years ago, and it's so appropriate today as we contemplate all the expanded violence in the Middle East. So this quote came from her in 1994. Tyrants are not moved by idealism. They're moved by naked ambition. Dictators are encouraged by weakness, and they're stopped by strength. And by strength, of course, I do not merely mean military might, but the resolve to use that might against evil. The price of freedom is still, and always will be, eternal vigilance. This meeting is adjourned.